grip on sports. It's time to pick a side in this football rivalry. A grip on sports. It may be a relatively quiet day locally in the collegiate sports arena, but there is no let-up in the drama for this Saturday. No Saturday with the Army-Navy game is without drama. At least there never has been in my lifetime. Take all your rivalries, meld them together into one pot, and you may come close to the aroma of the service academies won. It's like Washington State or Montana State, but spread all over the world. And lately it's been about as one-sided, which makes me happy. See, my father was a Navy man. Always was since that day in 1942 when he enlisted. Throughout his service time, whether he was in the South Pacific or in Virginia or San Francisco, when the academies met he would listen. And when he was older, many years removed from the days in uniform, he still would plant his behind in front of the TV set in December rooting against those bums from Army as much as he would be rooting for the Navy and its goat. I didn't have a dog in the hunt ever, but thanks to his devotion, maybe bred through many a brawl on Guam or wherever during the war, I always root for the midshipmen. Doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. I want to know the score. For 14 consecutive years, after I heard it, I smiled knowing, no matter where Dad was, he was smiling. Navy won every game between 2002 and 2015, building an 11-game lead in the series. Midway through that run, my dad saw his final Navy victory. He wasn't around last year when Army got lucky and cut the lead to 60-57, but all will be right with the world after today's game. Has to be. Being a sports fan means being up 1 minute and down the next. Such was the case yesterday for Mariner fans. The morning was dominated by the trade for D. Gordon, the afternoon by the news Shohei Ohtani signed with the Angels. Not with the M's, which was bad enough, but with a division rival. There ought to be an investigation. Actually, considering what's happened recently in Major League Baseball with international signings, there probably will be. But the Angels have won this one. Soccer may not be the biggest story nationally today, but it's pretty important to this region. The Sounders' Seattle MLS team has a chance to repeat as league champion. And for the Northwest, it's a chance for 3 consecutive MLS Cup wins. What with the Timbers winning in 2015? All that stands in Seattle's way is the same opponent that stood there last season, Toronto. Can the Sounders win again? We find out this afternoon. WSU, the first bowl practice of the year, went off last evening. But the head coach and a couple of assistants were not in attendance. They couldn't fly into Pullman due to foggy conditions at the airport. Theo Lawson was in town already and has a story from after practice and a whole bunch of interviews on our WSU football page. The Times' Stephanie Lowe spoke with WSU President Kirk Schultz and has this piece. Elsewhere in the Pac-12, though the bowl games are around the corner, the biggest football news may be the new early signing period, which is less than 2 weeks away. Another coaching vacancy was filled yesterday when Oregon decided to promote someone at new interim coach Mario Cristobal. It's the same path the school took when Chip Kelly left. John Wilner lists the top former walk-ons in the conference this season. Arizona State is trying to figure out who will coach its defense. The top basketball game this weekend is in Seattle, where the Huskies will host Gonzaga. Oregon won last night against visiting Colorado State. Utah and Utah State will renew a long, dormant rivalry. USC has lost 3 consecutive games. Arizona State remains undefeated after beating St. John's in Los Angeles. Arizona is trying to claw its way back into the top 25. Oregon State is trying to improve. Gonzaga, there is more intrigue with Sunday's Washington matchup, especially after the Huskies upset number 2 ranked Kansas this week. Jim Meehan looks back at 5 classic games between the schools. There is history between Weber State and BYU, which meet tonight. Alvin Snow was once the player everyone on Eastern's basketball team looked to for a big play. Now Snow is an agent. The roles are similar. Jim Allen has this story. Weber State led by 8 late in its FCS matchup with top-ranked James Madison. only to lose on a late field goal. Chiefs Everett has one of the best goalies in junior hockey. And Carter Hart showed why again last night in the Silvertips' 3-0 win over visiting Spokane. Preps Friday nights are now full of basketball, and we can pass along roundups from the boys and girls. In the more than 30 years we've lived in this area, this might be the 5th or 6th plan floated to deal with Albee Stadium. Amy Edlin has this story in this morning's SR Seahawks. If you thought Chris Carson was close to returning, this news should change your mind. Why is Cam Chancellor still on the active roster? Mariners. The M's thought they were in the driver's seat. They had amassed the most money, had a history with Japan, and had a motivated organization. But Ohtani decided to sign elsewhere. The worst part of the Ohtani news is where he signed. The M's will play the Angels 19 times. Sounders. Last year Seattle won the Cup without taking a shot on goal in the final, winning in a shootout. This year should be different in more than one way. Clint Dempsey didn't take part in last year's match as he was dealing with his heart issue. Army and Navy wear awesome uniforms against each other every year, and 2017's are some of the best yet. The annual Army-Navy game is known for a lot of things. One of the coolest new traditions, each team wearing alternate uniforms that honor specific elements of each side's military branches. Navy's wearing Blue Angels uniforms, a tribute to the U.S. Navy's flight team. This tribute to the Blue Angels reflects the enthusiastic pride and appreciation we have for the Navy's premier flying team, and the motivation they convey to Navy football and the fleet at large. Navy AD Chet Gladchuk said, "The masterminds at Under Armour are always thinking of ways to inspire our troops, while still reflecting a deep appreciation for a naval history that is so ingrained in our game day traditions." Annually, a special Navy uniform has become a statement in this game and brings with it appreciated meaning and a clear message that we are all in. Army's all-white uniforms commemorate the 10th Mountain Division, formed during World War II. According to Army's official release, the 10th Mountain Division, which was originally called the 10th Light Alpine Division, trained in some harsh weather. These soldiers trained at 9,200 feet to learn to fight and survive in the most brutal mountain conditions. Bill Bowerman, who would eventually go on to co-found NIC, organized the supplies and maintained the mules for the 10th Mountain Division as a major in the Army, serving at the time as the commander of the 86th Regiment's 1st Battalion. On the cleats there is a panda patch, which is a tribute to the 10th Mountain Division's roots in Pando, Colorado. The patch helped identify the soldiers who were nicknamed the Pando Commandos. There is also a patch that has the division's coat of arms, along with the words Vires Montest Vincimus, which translates to "We conquer powers and mountains." The patch is on the uniform's right shoulder to honor those who served. On the back of the helmet, the unit's "Follow Me" stripe is found. 10th Mountain Division soldiers operated in blustery winter conditions. To stay in formation, a dark stripe was placed on the back of their uniforms, known as the "Follow Me" stripe. A similar stripe will adorn Army helmets when they take the field on December 9th. These teams wear awesome uniforms every year. "We're just waiting for a miracle," Navy football coach's son waits for new heart. The Army-Navy football rivalry is one of the oldest and most storied in all of college sports. The academies will play each other for the 118th time today, with the Commander-in-Chief's trophy on the line. Heading into the game, the Navy midshipmen are receiving some inspiration from an unlikely source. Navy offensive coordinator Ivan Jasper's 14-year-old son Jaron is awaiting a heart transplant. Jaron needs a new heart after complications from an August 4th procedure meant to correct an abnormally fast heart rhythm. While he waits for word on a possible transplant, he relies on a battery-powered device to keep him alive. If a matching donor heart becomes available, the family will have just 2 hours to get to Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. "Right now we're just waiting for a miracle," Jasper said. The Navy players said they were inspired by Jaron and the Jasper family's strength in the face of adversity. It showed us how to be strong, like how strong a family really can be when they're together. One player said. It was inspiring because he came and showed up every day. And just to battle through adversity and come out on the other end strong. Another said. Navy head coach Ken Niumatalolo said it has helped put things in perspective. I've been amazed by their strength, especially Jaron. Niumatalolo said. Jasper said he's focused on his team's biggest game of the season, but the real victory he has his eye on is his son's health.